One thing that I really also wanted to take a look at, when we're paying attention to the bands, we've noticed a ton of emphasis on the whole Serket, Ratatoskr, Kakolin, Raijin. Those are like the initial 4 bands that we've been seeing a lot out of from these 2 teams. Which
Even
means
last set. Even last set.
That's what I'm saying, though, is that like it leaves a lot of playroom for Andy and Homiefe to actually have that wombo combo synergy. I mean, we know that they're both carry guys. They are both very talented mechanically. So if they're both able to play something with a little bit of hyper carry potential, I think that that'll be the catalyst to really get SpaceStation moving.
Like? Give us hard examples.
I honestly want to see the Raw.
Yeah, me too.
I really want to see a Raw out of Andinster. I think that we haven't... Well, we saw Trifecta trying to run the healer composition, but that was a little bit more risk-reward factor. And I think with a Raw, you get the damage that you're looking for, but you also get that team sustain. And the way that SpaceStation has been playing in every single one of these matches so far has been based around actually way more team fighting than what we're accustomed to seeing out of these guys. Normally, you're looking at the individual standout plays from Homiefe, from Andinster, from Zapman, but instead you're getting a whole lot of teamwork. And teamwork makes the dream work, so why not keep it going?
I feel that. At the same time, Andy might just be... Wolfie's the only one that stops me from saying Andy's the best Raw in the world, and Wolfie is the only guy. When you watch Andy, I mean, if you look at the regular season, just try to find the VODs of Andy playing Raw, and he's hitting max range snipes, no setup, multiple players. It doesn't matter. He's so accurate. And we just see the soul time and time again. I mean, you're a coach that drives picks and bans. Why do you think we see him come back to it?
I think it's better suited for the team as a whole, the Soul. It's more team-focused in terms of bursting down objectives, whilst Raz have more for the secure, which they already have with their zone potential. And I'm going to agree with you. I want to see the Ra come back out, switch back to that more I'm going to secure it rather than DPS it sort of style. But I do have the question, if they do pick the Ra, do we see an Odin picked up by either SpaceStation or Luminosity, or is it banned?
Interesting. We've seen the Odin banned earlier in the day, not in this set just yet. I think Homiefe on the Odin early game's an assassin. I'm down. Right? I'm down.
I don't know. I am not down for, considering how well Homiefe has been playing on these hyper carries such as the Thor and the Bakasura.
Sure.
I don't really want to see a bruiser coming out from a homie. He's just doing way too much work on the actual assassin gods, and that kind of gameplay has been missing for a while out of, I should say, competitive play in general, because we've all seen the Nikes, we've all seen the Ravens, the Erlongs. I mean, pretty much every single warrior you could think of. That's why Ratatoskr and Serket keep getting banned.
You reckon we see a Ra pick and then an Odin over there in the solo lane, maybe?
I don't think that they necessarily need to go for the Odin just as much as they don't really need to reveal the Ra mid early on, unless they can get it in the 3rd pick slot.
Yeah. I also feel like you kind of see a Ra coming with Andy.
Yeah, I think if SpaceStation do take that 2nd pick option, they can save Ra to the 3rd pick and then immediately ban out that counter pick for the Odin. Maybe even ban out the Cabrakan, because he is also somebody who can lock out space, lock out retreat paths for that Ra.
Yeah, Jeff getting ready here, doing the old... actually, it's funny. It's Captain Twig that I think is straight up the grossest. What's his name? Jeff kind of like licking his fingers here, just going for it a little bit. You ever see Captain Twig?
Oh, yeah.
Do the full,
God, yeah.
the full palm lick and just go for it.
Do you think that he actually licks his palms? Or does he actually...
Yes, he does.
Yes.
Does he really?
He does.
Is it like marking his territory?
Yeah,
I don't get
he's just claiming his mouse and keyboard as his own. Just simply how you lick it like the bottom of a can. You just claim that can as your own.
Who licks the bottom of their can?
Bottom of a can?
You've never done that before?
No! No!
Now we know what's going on in EU.
That's why he is winning, because they're just out there licking strange
their
objects.
territory. I mean, that's one way to establish your dominance, I guess. Is just lick your stuff.
So long as it's not doing it like dogs do, then you're fine.
Well, right now, I hope that SpaceStation Gaming finds a Ra and licks it for Andinster, or at least something in the middle lane that's got a little bit more oomph than this Soul that we've been watching. Down 1-2, this being match point for LG. Should they win, they find themselves safely in the seat for HRX, and SpaceStation will have to battle it out in the group stages later on this week. But for now, first ban going to SSG.
We spent so much time talking about the Ra as well. I'm just waiting for Andinster to pull out something like Agni.
I'd waiting for LG to
what's
ban
coming.
it straight away.
Yeah.
Just go say, we know it's coming. Go away.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because this is the game that you have to make the change, right? And you know, we're talking about Ra specifically, but for me, there are so many other gods in that Ra role that A, SpaceStation can pick, and B, Andy can pilot. Just give me something that's a little bit more hard carry or burst damage potential than, the Soul. But I love this ban.
No Morgan, and
Nope.
for a perfect reason. We saw this happen earlier today as well in that last set with United and Trifecta. Morgan did work, and the first thing that happened, Morgan gets banned away. That's just no chances wanting to be taken for SpaceStation right now. Baskin cannot be allowed to play a god that lets him transform into anything when he can literally play everything.
Yeah, just a little bit too problematic there. Raijin going to be our last and final ban next to Cirquet, the Morrigan, and Cucullin
Ratatoskr
for SSG.
for Homiefe.
I would love to see Homiefe on a Ratatoskr, especially when it has such a threat against a team like Luminosity, because Luminosity they love composure when it comes to the laning phases and just making sure to continuously cycle through things. Instead, they want to run it back with the Soul.
I agree with the Sai.
I mean, listen, we're not out there on the battlefield, but, you know, so when it comes down to it, I feel like the Soul might not, listen, the Soul isn't the problem, but we've focused so much on a different mid lane pick because of the potential that Andinster has. And like I said, Soul, yeah, sure, she can kill people, she can do a lot of damage, but she's not the person that's deleting players off of the map. And that's a skill set Andy has when you give him the tools.
And they've just given Mask Ratatoskr. And over goes Hercules as well to Aquarius.
Hercules, yeah, everybody's been loving the Herc pick today, and for good reason. I mean, Aquarius, even though he might have gotten soloed by Scary D in that last match, it's still such a strong pick. And it seems as though every solo laner decided to start hitting every single Earthbreaker as well. I have never seen so many Hercs consistently land their twos in my life.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about playing on land, like zero ping, right, close to it. That's what you see. I mean, you see the Najas come out, you see the Hercules come out. A lot of times when you're playing on land, the characters that you see wind up being, you know, more prevalent because of the lack of ping.
It makes sense when you think about it. And again, the main justification that I would imagine SpaceStation has for falling back onto this Soul selection one more time for Andinster is they want to make sure that Andy can stay alive. And if there's one thing that's hard to escape from, it's a Ratatoskr.
Well, there's a Soul and the AMC, so it's looking like they're going to shape up for a Fafnir yet again. And Jigz played extremely well on the Fafnir, transfers over to the Ganesh for Game 3 because it was banned out. He did do work on the Ganesh, but it wasn't as impactful, I felt.
I mean, when it comes down to it, Jigz is never the guy I'm questioning on SpaceStation Gaming. Jigz, I feel like on a scale of 1 to 10, right? You know, 10 being the best, obviously. I feel like Jigz never goes below a 7. He is just consistently there. Sylvanus.
I've been wondering where he's been this entire tournament so far. He is fantastic for early lane pressure, as well as being able to get early kills, because you root somebody, you reduce their protections early, and if you have somebody like AMC following up, it's mad damage.
At the same time, you're also talking about one of the most punishable gods in the game. I mean, you get to control him just a little bit, and he's dead.
Well, I mean, you also have AMC. Why not double down?
But yeah, double or nothing. That's fair enough. But when it comes to Sylvanus into Ratatoskr and Hercules, that's going to be all on Jigz to watch his positioning for. Pathing going to be even more important than before because he's not going to have a whole lot of room to make mistakes.
Not at all. The margin of error on SpaceStation, not just Jigz, but also Zapman, very, very small here. When you take into account both AMC and Sylvanus are they're walking targets, and picking them this early on. I mean, LG just go Cyrus, go anything that's going to be able to control things. Hachiman is going to be the hunter of choice. BaRRaCCuDDa played him earlier in the day. Game number 1 went, I think, 8-1, and who cares? He was just crushing it.
I had a sneaking suspicion they were going to pick Odin there against the Sylvanus AMC. Those two are trapped in the cage, and the Bakasura ban comes back out. I like it.
Again, BaRRaCCuDDa went off. Game number 2, BaRRaCCuDDa and Uller basically won the game for SpaceStation Gaming. And Bak is a character that he's just so difficult to contain. I mean, frankly, how do you stop him? And a lot of people say, I don't know.
Crowd control. That's entirely all that it is. If SpaceStation were to try and select BaRRaCCuDDa in their third pick, it's very easy for LG to just look for 2 very strong crowd controlling gods that can completely negate any sort of mobility that you're typically going to want to be looking for on that BaRRaCCuDDa.
And I know that's sort of like the meme thing. They're OP, just crowd control them. But with BaRRaCCuDDa, he has to be within basic attack range to do his damage to you. So it's very easy to then crowd control him because he's having to dive your backline.
Well, Xing Chen, the ban here for SpaceStation Gaming. Fafnir will be snatched away by LG. I like that choice. And then option over SpaceStation Gaming to finish their draft, looking for likely a jungler and a solo lane.
And with that jungle being left wide open, Thor is still on the table in case he wants to run it back, but instead it's going to be the Camazotz. Been a little bit since we gotten a chance to see this guy. Hasn't had a whole lot of action ever since his latest nerf, but I am loving the Camazotz because of the way that he'll be able to commit to BaRRa in particular from Luminosity.
Love everything I'm seeing on the screen. In fact, I want to show you, Taka, real quick. So we're writing down picks and bans, and sometimes you're listening and thinking. I just wrote Homiefe. That's what we know this guy as. Camazotz came on the scene thanks to Homiefe, and I just briefly want to touch on the Poseidon, one of Baskin's first selections when he switched over to the mid lane. Loves this character. What do you think about the Waterman?
I think it just wins Luminosity this draft. Artio has a very punishable dash, Sylvanus AMC and Sol very punishable to high burst, and I think Luminosity win this game.
How about you?
Way too much lockdown on Luminosity. It's going to be their game to take home.
I too agree. LG. That's it for me. Let's talk to Finch and Anatoly.
Thank you, Tom. We got Game 4 here, SpaceStation versus LG. And we also got a pretty interesting draft here, totally. Camazotz, Poseidon.
I'm really excited about this Poseidon pick, honestly, because like they talked about on the desk, Baskin first started his mid-career exclusively on this Poseidon, and with some buffs, which we'll get to a little bit later here, and the cripple being able to shut down Camazotz from jumping away, forcing him to maybe prematurely use his ultimate defensively as opposed to engaging and diving all backlines, as well as maybe shutting down the Artio from being aggressive. This is a great selection for LG all across the board.
And now we get to see those 2 teams come on in. It's 2-1 here, Luminosity against SpaceStation. And yes, these picks are exciting, but again, Luminosity are on set point here. If they win this one, they're going to HRX. SpaceStation go down to group stages, and that's the last place you want to be with Energy and Trifecta and Noble waiting on you.
This is the elimination game potentially for SpaceStation, whereas Luminosity can afford themselves to lose this one. They switched up the meta here, at least in picks and bans a little bit, and I'm really surprised, honestly, that neither team, or this whole day rather, has went for Ram yet. They're prioritizing this Hachiman as kind of like the surprise factor.
Jigz blinks in, gets the root off on the Baskin, but not too much comes from it. Baskin, very calm in response, doesn't blow any cooldowns. So yes, he is going to be a little bit lower in HP, but he doesn't really lose anything.
No, not at all here. And that's not a bad idea to use your blink that early on in the game anyway. You're not going to be hitting level 5 in that duration of the cooldown, so you might as well do the damage that you can. Force out Baskin to use an early health potion potentially that he would have wanted to.
And they were able to get the pressure, but evened out by Luminosity. Totally, this is a very important question. Does Poseidon, actually 2-man pull from Aquarius, but nothing comes from it, but does Poseidon win them the game right away? Do they just win instantly?
I don't think that they win instantly just because of that fact. It's going to be more careful on space stations of getting too close to Baskin.
No, Poseidon, the skin.
The skin Poseidon.
Yeah.
Of course.
Do they win instantly now?
It's pay to win. Of course Poseidon is going to mean victory. What else?
Well, either way, that Poseidon going to be a big impact for them. But Aquarius getting this Hercules again, Tony. And we've seen him time and time again play it to a high level. And SpaceStation haven't really taken it away from him yet. He's going to keep going, but Mass taking a lot of poke.
Yeah, Homiefe doing a great job displaying his target accuracy onto Mask there, just barely even avoiding Aquarius. And that's why they were talking about on the desk how Homiefe kind of brought Camazotz to life in the competitive scene, at least in the North American side of things. Homiefe, though, can still look to play aggressive impressive, but he has to be so careful against Aquarius on this Hercules that can instantly pull him under that tower.
I think that's the only reason he didn't wrap back around there, just paying a little bit of respect to Aquarius and that driving strike. We do see Artio over there in that solo lane with him, and that's what makes this Poseidon pick potentially so strong for him. The ability to cripple out potentially the dash coming out from Jigz, to be able to slow down, like you said, Homiefe, and get that lockdown so that he can follow up with the Kraken, as well as some of the other follow-up on the team is actually jumping in aggressively there was JeffHindla.
Yeah, Andinster is forced to run away there. Even the sprint being popped by LG, wanting to do a lot of damage on Andinster, but now being surrounded by his Sylvanus, he's going to get the sustain that he needs. He even has some more self-sustain between a health potion and dropping the heat down if he ever wants to, so there's not too much worry on the side of SpaceStation.
A small lead has come out for SpaceStation, though. On the side of Scary D and Homiefe, they ticked over to level 4 just a little bit. If it keeps up, they will have their ultimates first, which on that solo jungle side could potentially end up in a kill or at least an engagement.
That's very true. You're looking at the difference between having a supernova versus no Kraken for Baskin, and this Kraken might play a huge factor here because it's relatively easy to get out of that center of the Kraken, and with the recent changes in 4.20 where the inner ring has been reduced damage to try to distribute the rest of the damage to the outer ring, so now you're getting more consistent damage throughout your Krakens.
And it's not just consistent damage, but potential to do that damage to multiple people in there too, Tully, you're right. Before, it kind of only the people in the center. But Scary D actually gets pushed back, but it's actually Homiefe who's here. Aquarius might have jumped back into trouble, but already under his tower and tanky enough to get away.
Good backstep, avoiding that initial nuke from Homiefe. If that connects, then Homiefe is going to get some sustain after the fact, and maybe that could have been enough damage to get the execute threshold potentially from all 3 hits of Camazotz ultimate. These players know their damage inside and out, and that's why Homiefe didn't commit to his ultimate once he missed his other ability.
Zapman going on to the B to try and go up against BaRRaCCuDDa's Hachiman. And Hachiman is, the new hunter on the block that we're seeing here. He's got a lot in his kit. You were talking to me a little bit earlier. You were surprised that we kept seeing this Hachiman pick. What is BaRRaCCuDDa's looking for from this one?
I think he's just looking to honestly get the mobility online, just like I was talking about in the previous first game, of getting the chase factor or the disengage factor. Obviously, getting more attack speed around dropping the banners is another good idea here. And as a late game hunter, BaRRaCCuDDa was able to really just solo every objective that he wanted to when he was playing Hachiman in that first game.
I think what happened is that last time on the B, he was so gankable that this time he said, I'm going to get a horse so that I can literally ride away, totally. That's what he's decided to do. Yeah, out into the sunset. So this time, if they put some pressure on him, he's just going to ride off on that horse. But actually, he's been able to be mostly chill. Mask going up through the Cosmos, looking to crash down the middle lane. He falls down, but Jigz gets caught in the Kraken and the water. I thought trees liked water, totally, but that was a little too much.
No, not this time around, but the counter rotation from Homie, he's trying to catch Mask. He gets the first hit, second is good as well. Doesn't want to commit to the third one. That means he would be under that tier 1 tower. He could have easily cleaned up Mask, but better safe than sorry. Not wanting to sacrifice his life in the process.
That means Luminosity cleanly gets first blood, and they put it on the Baskin there, Poseidon. The hero from last game already off to a good start here in Game 4, the one where they have a chance to close out SpaceStation, and he's looking good on the Poseidon.
But despite not finding the kill onto Mask, it forces him to prematurely back, so Homiefe gets the blue buff here, hits level 7 first, and he's able to still slowly keep himself on top of that experience per minute chart.
And that's a big deal because it cuts into one of Rat's best qualities, which is that he doesn't have to back as soon, like to finish off his big power spike item, that Acorn. You see it's still only at tier 2, so it kind of cuts into some of what Rat likes to do.
And surprisingly enough, Mask goes for the Death's Toll here. Now finishes off that Acorn, but that's normally not very common. Now granted, you could get some AoE hits off with the Death's Toll to proc multiple instances of it, but normally you're seeing the Bluestone Pennant trying to get off more ticks of damage, so that way whenever you dive the backline, you have more kill opportunity.
Especially with that flurry, as he said, able to get those ticks off onto several people potentially if he knocks up a couple people. But that's what Mask isn't looking for at this game. Instead, as you said, going for a little bit more of that sustained route. But look at Aquarius responding, it looks like, to the magic damage coming out from SpaceStation early here.
And I think another reason, if we just elaborate more about that item decision, is the sustain here. How aggressive the composition from SpaceStation is with Homie on this Camazotz. He's expecting to take a lot of damage, so that extra health and health per hit is good enough.
Three-man knockup comes out. Immediate follow from Andinster, but just not quite enough. Mask actually drops back in through the Cosmos and immediately gets responded to with the bat out of hell. Now the next one low is Baskin, but he stays alive for just a moment.
The boulder as well on top. Aquarius coming in hot with this rotation to 2 for 2 thus far. ScareD is in a lot of trouble. He's trying to get away from both Jeff and Aquarius as BaRRaCCuDDa is running on the backhand side. Another 1 for 1 as Andinster gets a trade.
But now JeffHindla is actually turning back into that dwarf form, so he's he's actually vulnerable for a moment. BaRRaCCuDDa, though, couldn't clean it up onto Andinster, who gets on out of there. So, yeah, a lot of fighting, but it came out pretty even, I guess.
Pretty much. It was a 3 for 3 at the end of the day. Now Zapman's making this rotation, or at least this half rotation, trying to zone BaRRaCCuDDa from making this his own lane back to the left-hand side, but able to pick off these mid-harpies, so he's still getting a valuable trade-off there. He got a whole wave under his own belt from the left, denied the wave on left, which forced BaRRaCCuDDa to get the mid-wave, which denies it against Baskin, and Zap picking up those mid-harpies is able to get a slight, slow, and steady edge.
And Zapman looks like he's going to pick up his red buff solo, while I believe Mask was there with BaRRaCCuDDa. So Zapman still maybe got a little bit better of that engagement overall, so maybe not all even in that fight as Homiefe looks to come over and maybe try and engage the speed, but too many members from Luminosity were around.
And Jigz, recognizing how vulnerable he's going to be, goes for reinforced shoes, trying to survive a lot of these encounters, getting more crowd control reduction, getting extra protection per tick, especially considering that Whirlpool does apply damage over time. Not a bad idea to really try to get the ball rolling and stay alive, because honestly, between Mask dunking on him, the Whirlpool Krakens, Luminosity is going to be looking to take out Jigz, because if you eliminate that threat, now you're also eliminating the multiple instances of heals from the Wisps.
And in that first engagement we saw, they landed in on the Jigz and they got that pick in middle lane. He's actually died twice, so he's certainly correct that he's going to be a focus from Luminosity. And we even talked about it a little bit during those picks and bans. Jigz is going to be a focal point of this game on that Sylvanus. Could he get off the heals? Could he get off the Ratatoskrs that were going to be the ones that changed this game around, or was he just going to get picked?
And Jeff's going to be a little bit more of a greedy dwarf, going for Traveler shoes. He's trying to get that extra gold, synergizing with his passive. The more gold you get, the more protections that you get as long as you hold on to that gold. Not a bad idea to work with that passive. Also a little bit of a different, interesting route in terms of itemization here. Shogun's Kusari from Jigz, whereas JeffHindla going for something else here, but still not much team fighting outside of that after that kind of slow disengage.
Yeah, right about now, all the buffs, it looks like, are down for the most part. Those fire elementals will be back up shortly, and that'll be the last time those spawn up before they're replaced by our friend the Fire Giant and the Portal Demon on this side too. So some important farm to get, and looks like it is going to be going the way of SpaceStation as Homiefe and Jigz rotate over to clean it up.
The last one's there, but pretty still even game here. 25.5, a little over that SpaceStation. Luminosity barely with a lead here. Nothing to write home about in this game. This whole set has been relatively close and back and forth. It's 2-1 in Luminosity's favor, but they got the momentum from winning that last game where SpaceStation could have closed out around that 28-minute mark or so.
And that's what's impressive about this so far. SpaceStation, after a loss like that, they easily could maybe tilt or maybe feel bad about it. That one can weigh on you mentally. But they came back into this game looking ready to play, even after giving up first blood, as ScareD and Aquarius continue to trade it out as our solo laners like to do.
It's just a man fight. They're hitting each other with pillows. Like, ScareD is barely tickling Aquarius. He's still sitting at about 80% health. He's just going to use that mitigate wounds at his leisure to get topped off here. Getting the left side mid Harpy, SpaceStation walking away with that one.
And we can see that in Aquarius' build too, the response to the Artio, and it helps out a little bit against Andinster too, but actually up into the air though is Mass looking to crash down. Actually lands on Jigz. They make the tree the call one more time. Dragonic Corruption comes out. Ratatoskr there to avoid the knockup, but still locked down for the moment. Zapman actually rotates in the back and cleans up Mass though.
Overcommitting. Mass really wanted the tree, and now Baskin forced to Aegis against Homiefe, not wanting to use that ultimate to dive the tower. Very patient is the jungler from SpaceStation, so Jigz paying off huge there, walking away with that one. This defensive selection was so good. I thought it was going to be a Shogun's Kusari, but instead it's actually a Genji's Guard to survive the Krakens even further.
And ScareD rotates over to invade on top of Aquarius and try and slow him down while he tried to defend his own speed buff. So in the end, no back off. Zapman coming up with a big plan that last fight to find that pick after the commit on the Jigz. But as you said, he was too tanky for them to take that time.
That's very true. Once the call was made that Mask was in the sky, Zap, no hesitation, made that rotation, able to take off Mask off the board, just punching him for his transgressions there. And with that, the Oracle is going the way of Luminosity. They're going to get that vision for an extra minute. I don't expect Mask now to continue this aggression onto Jigz. It hasn't worked out last time around, and now he's behind in the farming department against Homie.
No, at this point, Jigz, by prioritizing those the reinforced greaves there or reinforced shoes, he's decided to make himself too tanky, and now Mask is likely going to have to find another target. SpaceStation Gaming do a good job of slowing down that pressure. It's sort of a clock when you're up against a Ratatoskr, waiting on that cooldown to keep coming back up through the Cosmos so we can initiate and catch someone out. And they survived that one. So now they got a little bit of time where they're tankier.
And more importantly was the way or how patient Jigz was in terms of waiting for that Wrath of Terror, waiting for the Kraken to prevent that initial knockup. Jigz going to blink in, but he whiffs on the ultimate.
Not Wrath of Terror, but through the Cosmos is the call one more time. Mask is up in the air. But this time he chooses not to fall in. There were too much help around Jigz.
Now wants to dive onto the backline there with Andinster not close enough behind him. Mask was just too far away from his own teammates. If he lands there, he's going to get caught between Homiefe and Andinster, so not wanting to pull the trigger on that one. Instead walks away cleanly because he still needs to farm it up. Going for his back right Harpies. There's just not much farm for Mask to get on this map.
We saw earlier on, he was actually under some pressure from Scary D coming up and stealing away some of that jungle from him. So as you said, not only has he had a couple of ganks that didn't work out, but also some of his jungle has been stripped away from him.
A relatively quiet game, at least in the duo lane. They've made their rotations to make an impact in the mid lane. Aquarius, though, in a lot of trouble under this tier 1 tower.
He got stunned out, but immediately the pressure from Mask was enough. Pushing him back in as Aquarius, and Homiefe gets sent back to base.
Aquarius doesn't have an ultimate, was used earlier on, and man, he's just been so accurate with this Hercules. And honestly, yet again, 100% win rate, I think, with Hercules this entire day between E-United's Benji and now Luminosity's Aquarius.
I think so, too. Hercules is, at least he's not lost anyone a game. He looks real good so far. As a pick, and Aquarius looking exceptionally good on him too. 3-1-1 for Luminosity. So as you said, not only are the hunters in the side lanes free farming, but Aquarius having an easy time of it too.
Also going for a great itemization choice here, going for Ankile, shutting down the chain combination that Scary D wants to do once he gets in there. You apply the magical damage onto Aquarius, all of a sudden you're going to get hit with that silence. You're not going to be able to continue the combination of spells that you want, which also prevents you from stacking up your ultimate passive to get extra MP5 and continue the chain. Great choice from Aquarius.
Yep, in response to that Guardian over there. And it also serves the dual purpose of getting a little bit of extra help up against Andinster too. It does mean that for the moment, Homiefe have a little bit of easier time on him, but Aquarius has been able to farm so easily. He's almost done building that defensive option, whether he chooses to go for Breastplate or Hide in a Man Lion. He can do whichever one he chooses, but he'll be that much tankier against Zap and Homiefe.
Something we don't really see very often is the Runic Shield, which basically strips away some magical power, same way that Jade Emperor's Crown limits some physical power. And with the composition from SpaceStation, Andinster playing solo, Jigz on the Sylvanus, Scary D on Artio, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe even Mask goes for this, but he's starting to go for what looks to be either the Ankile or that Runic Shield.
It does look like what Mask is starting to work on. We're getting to be about 15 minutes in here right now. 5 to 4 the kills favor Luminosity, and it's all but tied up here totally. And it's no surprise to me that things have slowed down. Luminosity know they can't make any mistakes. They have their chance to go to HRX, and SpaceStation know they're about to fall down into groups. But now Luminosity are tired of waiting. Gold Fury's down at half health. Dragonic Corruption comes out from JeffHindla, and up onto the Cosmos goes Mask. They crash down and take the Gold Fury, no problem.
And Homiefe, he's not done yet though, but you can't catch the horse even if you are a bat. Zap's going to take out Jeff though, so at least SpaceStation, after losing the Gold Fury, gets something in return here. Now going to shift their eyes towards this portal demon here. BaRRaCCuDDa though, going to get dove there by Homiefe, making the call though. I think they definitely want to clean up this jungler.
I think they are looking for a Mask is looping around. Here comes Baskin underneath. They got him. He's actually running away. He's got the speed buff around him, so he is a little bit fast. The stun was good though to lock him down. BaRRaCCuDDa gets credit for that one.
The stun into the whirlpool, applying the cripple in the solo lane though. Scary D going to keep Aquarius in tow And Andinster going to do a lot of damage, but doesn't want to keep the damage pumping with that Thorns. Aquarius is able to survive.
There's 4 people on his side of the map, and Aquarius is just chilling, man. He's
Hercules.
ready to play ball. He knows that he's too big for him right now.
He's just balling in the solo lane, and it's very hard to take away anything from this Hercules. He just heals a little bit too much there. The chain combination from ScareD gets disrupted for a little bit of time, and he's able to survive. If that ultimate was still available for Aquarius, maybe he even finds a kill onto Andinster after the driving strike.
SpaceStation did get that portal demon, so they cut a little bit into that lead from Luminosity. Now only about 800 out in front, but I mean, things were all but evened up until like a minute ago, like literally even. So Luminosity's starting to get the beginnings of something, but I mean, 800 gold, I mean, that's a couple of wards totally.
It's not too much, but if we looked at the previous game or so, where it was so many wards being placed from Luminosity, or rather from SpaceStation, because they had such a lead, but LG were still able to bounce back after that game. Warding has been such a crucial part in that third game, and I don't expect anything to change here in number 4.
Aquarius dropping the ult under the pressure from ScareD and Homiefe. I'm sure he's okay with that, though, just to get him off. And he's been able to say in comms the whole game, hey, I got 2 of them at least busy over here in my lane, so I don't have a problem. Y'all do whatever you want. Unfortunately, there's just not anything for anyone else to do except farm on the map. So he's just going to have to keep him busy over here and farm out.
Almost able to hit that pull. If he hits that pull, he gets a driving strike onto ScareD under that tier 1 tower with Mask right around the corner. But what ScareD was able to do there on the right-hand side, he wasn't expecting to kill Aquarius or get anywhere close. He was doing a damage check and also a cooldown check. He has Breastplate of Valor, Shoes of Focus, that's 30% cooldown reduction, and he's kind of testing like, all right, so I can get off this rotation of spells this quickly, and this is my damage at least against Aquarius. If I can target a squishy, I'm dealing at least 3 times this amount of damage to them.
And that's knowledge that ScareD can use when they start rotating over to these other team fights. If he's able to go over on a Gold Fury or a Portal Demon and catch out one of the opposing team members, like a Baskin or perhaps, or Mask if he drops in, he knows he can do some damage to him. He's seeing it here up against Aquarius, but a bit of a rotation coming over, maybe thinking better of it is Luminosity, as Baskin, Mask, and JeffHindla kind of rove around as one right now.
And not only was that a damage check also, but that was also a mana check in his department here, just to see how fast he depletes his mana pool. Mask, though, not going to connect onto Zap, but forces the beats.
Yeah, he didn't need to connect. He gets the beads out, and they get the stun. Drops the ultimate damage onto him from that mounted archery. Zapman under a lot of pressure, and Baskin's rotating over too. Zapman, see you later. 3 members rotate over, and SpaceStation is a little bit too slow to help out Zap.
Just that one tick of the Whirlpool applies the Gem of Isolation, slowing down Zap. Just no possible escape there. He actually even went for the Wing Blade, so every time he gets hit by that Whirlpool, he will get that little bit of boost of speed, which could be the difference of life or death.
Not quite the Manila Discord save we saw from BaRRa last game, but still sort of a similar idea. When you get that tick of aggression, it gives you a chance to get out of there. BaRRaCCuDDa, though, using the 50 seconds that man was sitting on to come over here and try and take down this tier 1 tower and left, and it does fall. Now Luminosity up 7-5 in the kills and opened up a little bit more space on this map.
And with the rotation that BaRRa was able to do on the left side, applying more pressure on that tier 1 tower forces a response from SpaceStation. Homiefe cleaning up the wave on the left side, while the rest of Luminosity was thinking about committing onto ScareD. With how aggressive he's been in that solo lane, it wasn't a bad idea, but that overcommitment allows Andinster to get off a little bit of damage and walk away cleanly on that tier 1 tower.
He couldn't quite finish it off, but it's all but finished off. All they got to do is basically go up and breathe on it to knock it down. So now that's not something that Luminosity can reliably fall back to.
No, not at all here. That tower will not stand much longer. Even Jigz can just walk up there, throw his little branch at there, get that 500 gold for the rest of his teammates. His Gold Fury is about to respawn here momentarily.
And that'll be likely the next point that we'll see them contest. And Luminosity are free to be a little more aggressive over there, because without a tier 1 tower, there's less safe space for SpaceStation on that side of the map. That means if they overcommit, Luminosity can chase them just that much harder.
And as long as there's just one little ward around Fire Giant, it's still a little bit too early for either team to go for the Fire Giant, so it'd be a safe call to go for the Gold Fury, not expecting any sort of retaliation on the right side of the map.
JeffHindla just kind of hanging around as Mask and Baskin make it over here. Even Aquarius is rotating over, so they do want to try and make something happen. Actually, this is good timing. ScaryD just went back to base, so it's a 5v4
Oh, BaRRaCC
for
goes
the
in.
moment.
BaRRaCC goes in. He wanted to get the hit off there, but now he's isolated and left alone. Normally, you don't have your Hunter being the one to zone in. Slight miscommunication here. Jigz can easily blink in here, and that's what he'll do, but LG get the Gold Fury.
Either way, it worked out for Luminosity. Now Mask is up through the Cosmos, waiting to come crash down. They do the same combo on the Jigz. It works this time. Zapman does clean Baskin up. Andinster, actually, that's 2 kills in favor of SpaceStation so far, and JeffHindla looks to be the 3rd.
He can't get away from that cripple field. Aquarius is left alone and isolated. That's 4 dead from LG. SpaceStation, they don't walk away with the objective, but they walk away with the better end of it, because this time, with 4 dead Luminosity members, the call is Fire Giant.
And that's what they're going to do. They're going to come over here and try and get it started. I wouldn't be surprised if they go ahead and pull this Fire Giant right away, and that's exactly what they do. Totally, the Fire Giant looked free for him, but why did that fight go so heavily in their favor?
BaRRaCCuDDa just kind of overcommitted there. He was out of position going onto Zap, and that lack of DPS onto the Gold Fury means that Luminosity takes a longer time to complete the Gold Fury, which means more SpaceStation members have the timing to make that rotation happen. Now, Jigz blinking in there doesn't get the Wrath of Terror off. I think he might have accidentally procced one of the Onculays between Aquarius or Mask, but it didn't matter because the rest of LG were just too clumped up. The rotation from Andinster, the Supernova Stellar Burst combination literally melted LG.
Now, SpaceStation Gaming are the ones that have some pressure in the game. They've got the Fire Giant, Tier 1 tower in mid, and on the solo lane side have fallen. The Portal Demon's up too, but that won't matter too much more now they've got the Fire Giant. What they're looking to do is go collect those gold from those Tier 2 towers and start to push that lead way out in front of Luminosity.
SpaceStation showing us why Artio is still really impactful in some of these team fights. That cripple field prevented the escape from Mask, Aquarius, even JeffHindla that was in that lonely dragon form couldn't jump away.
Mask is looking to go in, and not just Mask looking to go in. We're going to listen in with them along with Sennheiser.
Nice. It's for kill. Who we fighting? Who we killing?
Can you go on Artio? You got Artio? Yeah, man. Artio? I need an Artio.
Pull. Dive train. They're coming in. We're split.
Baskin's dead.
I'm back. I don't have anything for you, Miss.
I might be dead.
Good shit. Coming.
Yeah. Can we kill?
Yeah. I am
second.
sprinting you guys.
Camera behind.
Alright.
Just be careful.
That's fine.
I think we're just getting out.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. I did. That's fine.
ScaryD was just a little bit too tanky in that engagement, totally. What happened?
They found the 1 kill onto Jigz, and then they got too ambitious there, losing both Mask and Baskin, trying to kill a level 19 Artio onto ScaryD. And look at these rotation of cooldowns from ScaryD, just allowing Homiefe to retreat very safely. BaRRaCCuDDa, though, needs to be careful. He's in the deep heart of the jungle from SpaceStation, trying to run away. He might make a play here onto Zap.
Jigz is here, though. He's just waiting right around the corner. He knew exactly where BaRRaCCuDDa was. Now he's in no man's land, staring down 3 members. I don't know how he's going to make it out of this, and doesn't have the horse available either. Jigz actually went for the pull, but couldn't quite get it, and BaRRaCCuDDa's leading him on a merry chase here.
He's just buying time to keep as much time. He might solo Andinster. He's life-stealing so much here. Not able to find the kill. Zapman is able to clean that one, but look how much time he wasted, essentially. SpaceStation is the one with Fire Giant, but they basically spent the last 30 seconds or so onto BaRRaCCuDDa inside their own Titan room.
Not just that, but the fight that they had, it ended up being a little bit of a wash between Luminosity and SpaceStation, which still kind of goes in Luminosity's favor. All the Tier 2 towers are still up on the map. SpaceStation have not really expanded their lead at all.
That's true. Those 3 towers could have been the result of an extra 4,500 gold for SpaceStation, but now with BaRRaCCuDDa still dead for 25 seconds, they're going to utilize their sustain and their double 100 damage between Sol and Andy, Zap playing the Muzen Cobb, just actually melting these towers here alongside the Fire Giant buff.
I don't know if they're going to be able to get in position in time to defend this Tier 2. JeffHindla and Baskin are going to at least show face, but At this point, it's already half health. Mass actually, though, through the Cosmos, he's looking to come crashing in. Supernova comes through the team fight as well as Mass does land. Baskin in the backline facing ScaryD, who's just entirely too tanky. He's able to fight 5. Kraken does come out, but Andinster cleans up Baskin.
ScaryD did so much work there as Andinster is able to clean up. Still ScaryD diving in the backline. Aquarius not able to hit that pull. Finally, BaRRa respawn, but a little bit too late there. SpaceStation really abusing that respawn timer, and that forced Luminosity's hand there. They thought that they can maybe at least buy enough time for BaRRaCCuDDa to make the respawn and then make the impact. But the dive potential here that Homiefe has here, sitting at this level 19 Camazotz, packs quite a punch.
And ScaryD is unkillable right now, or at least it feels that way solely. There's Artio, man, in the back line. She's soaking up so many cooldowns, disrupting the team fight, pulling in Krakens and other big cooldowns from him, and it doesn't lead anywhere. And the rest of SpaceStation can kind of just walk in and finish it off. So it's just been a huge impact from ScaryD this game.
And normally the best answer against Artio is 2 things. Nemesis, potentially, or maybe a Circuit. Now, granted, the cripple field from Artio will shut both of those gods down, but it's all about those ultimates, like just melting them down protection-wise and health percentage-wise, getting the true damage off from Circuit. And without those 2 tools from Luminosity, they're not able to really deal with this late-game Artio that's just been left free to farm.
And at this point, Fire Giant's only about 10 seconds away from respawning. Aquarius interrupts the back from ScaryD, but I don't know if you want the bear sticking around with you any longer than necessary. At least this way, ScaryD can't go back and heal up and buy items as the Fire Giant is coming back onto the map, along with the Portal Demon, and SpaceStation are already in position.
They're going to pull it for the moment, going to reset it here. Obviously, you don't want your Hunter to initially tank it. At least once the pull and the reset happens, you need to make sure that he's in the right comfortable position. But everyone from LG is here. They still have all their Phoenixes intact, and that's going to allow them to defend this next Fire Giant siege. SpaceStation needs to find the right angle here. I think that Jigz is going to look for a hot blink.
For me, again, this is going to come down to ScaryD. If he can disrupt the backline for him, then Luminosity have a good chance. Ratatoskr goes and knocks up JeffHindla through the Cosmos coming out from Mass because a blink out of the backline happens. He is able to knock up ScaryD, who gets locked down in the Whirlpool, but he's actually able to walk his way out of there. Aquarius, once again, though, is being the front line.
He's trying to bait out so many cooldowns. Homiefe is a little bit low as well, forced to jump away the dash into the pull, and now Homiefe's in a lot of trouble. He's going to fall. He didn't have his ultimate.
That's a pretty big member they were able to take up there. Aquarius coming up big with the pull on the Hercules. Now it's the Portal Demon going down in favor of Luminosity, and just like that, that team fight's gone in their favor.
BaRRa's going in. He's making the call happen there. Portal Demon being secured from LG without Homiefe. That's a lot of backline penetration missing from SpaceStation. They're really relying on both Andinster and Zapman to deal with the front lines. That's why LG, they're going to start playing it slow. They're going to rely on Aquarius to be that buffer, force some members from SpaceStation into them.
And now they're trying to start up their own Fire Giant, cracking a little bit off the mark from Jigz, but he was still stuck in the Whirlpool.
The Supernova,
though, hits like 3 members. That's huge. Let's go into the SpaceStation listen-in with Sennheiser.
Nice, Andy.
I'm still here.
How about Fafnir? Yeah.
Hard push down.
Here. Yeah, we could do fire. Let me heal off speed. I'm gonna pull. Can you stop him from backing?
Yeah, I'm zoned.
Be a little quiet. Be a little quiet.
I'm stopping Faf.
Herc's gonna come around.
Yeah, I'm coming. We're circling it.
Herc.
What's his HP?
Faf hasn't backed yet.
Herc's right here. That's
What's the plan? What's the plan?
Keep doing this. I need help though.
He's gonna have boulder.
We should go on Herc, maybe. I kill him. I can kill him.
He has no 3 for a while.
I crippled him.
Nice. This is
Nice.
boulder. Perfect.
Nice. Let's go. I'm doing this. Let's go.
I got Faf.
Nice.
Yo, I'm
Careful now,
up in 10. I'm up in 10.
Yeah, we'll wait for you. 10 seconds.
Wait.
10 seconds.
Everyone's dead. Wait, just wait for me.
JeffHindla.
I'm gonna reset this. I'm gonna start pushing him right wave.
I'm up at 3.
Keep calling it.
2. Don't do it.
ScaryD and Zapman look like the big man there for me in that fight. Even waiting, nice guy SpaceStation to get that Fire Giant on everybody.
The missed Kraken from Baskin was huge. They're not able to take out Jigz as quickly as they would have liked to. Just allows the rest of SpaceStation to take advantage, and that just the positioning from SpaceStation all across the board. ScaryD going all the way to the middle Phoenix, not allowing JeffHindla to back, getting the Diaz side as Zap using his Stinger in a clutch fashion, making sure the driving strike wouldn't happen after the boulder. Even Andinster popping his Aegis, knowing that that boulder was coming there, was huge. And then with this Fire Giant now, SpaceStation are looking so strong. They have this 9,000 gold lead and Fire Giant to secure themselves some Phoenixes.
And that is what the call is going going to be. For a moment there, it looked like Luminosity were able to turn that around, but SpaceStation stick in that fight. Now they're the ones with the Fire Giant around all 5 members. Phoenixes are all exposed and ready to be taken down. Can we see another strong Phoenix defense from Luminosity? I don't know, but they need it. SpaceStation Gaming need this game, Anatoly. Without it, they're going down to groups. That's what's at stake for them as they move up to try and push down these Phoenixes.
ScaryD has been coming out huge for SpaceStation this game. The pickup of the Aegis amulet has just allowed him to be even more of a nuisance, because that means that Baskin can't use that Kraken onto ScaryD, because who wants to force an Aegis out of an Artio that's just already so resilient, has some self-sustain with Fire Giant anyway, and now ScaryD going in.
Blinking in, pulling in Aquarius, but Aquarius is a little bit too tanky. Mass actually goes up into the air, lands down on Jigz and ScaryD, who get pulled in a little bit by Aquarius. Homiefe, very low, but the 4-man Ratatoskr sets up the return damage, and Mask ends up falling to Jigz.
That damage over time, the cripple as well from Zapman Stinger, the Kraken. BaRRaCCuDDa taking out Andinster. It's a 1-for-1 thus far.
And looking for more is BaRRaCCuDDa, though. He's actually duking it out with ScaryD. Gonna have to back it up as JeffHindla appears to be the call. Jigz and Zapman not done.
The pull from Jigz. So Zapman's able to take out BaRRa with the help of Jigz's pull there. 2-for-1. Andinster sacrificing his life, but this left side Phoenix is going to be in a lot of trouble.
That's big. They could have defended it. They still had BaRRaCCuDDa, but now Zapman continuing to push down to this Phoenix, which is at half health.
The Whirlpool.
But Baskin's still here.
The Whirlpool, the beads though from Homie preventing the pull. Aquarius is forced to driving strike away. SpaceStation really using the heal from Jigz and the Fire Giant. ScaryD goes in, gets pulled, but SpaceStation got what they came for. They got the first Phoenix.
And now they're going to go ahead and back off. Clean call here from SpaceStation. And Luminosity committing once again a little bit too much into ScaryD, it felt like, in that engagement. It's so difficult for them to take down this Artio. Remember that fight by the Fire Giant when Zapman's like, no, I can take Aquarius. And he's right, he shreds him. But it's not the same with them against ScaryD.
And the whole idea and mindset for LG to overextend beyond their Phoenix is just to buy more time of their Fire Giant to fiddle away there, taking the fight outside of that Phoenix, knowing that they could potentially retreat anyway, utilize their Fountain to get back in for round number 2 here. It just wasn't enough there. The pull didn't catch them with the driving strike after the fact because of that cripple there, just shutting everybody down here. Zapman's so good about hitting that Stinger and hitting out Mass there. As soon as he went in, the damage was already done.
Now SpaceStation Gaming feeling firmly in control. We're 32 minutes into the game, but they're up about 11,000 gold. Just about everyone on their team is full build. Andinster has a little bit more work to do, but they're far away and ahead of Luminosity. But everyone from Luminosity is here. It looks like they are going to try and put up a defense on this Fire Giant, but we're still about a minute away from that.
So we were talking about how much of an impact ScaryD has been for SpaceStation, but let's talk about the way Jigz handled that last engagement, getting a 4-man knockup to start things off for SpaceStation, and then more importantly, that pull onto BaRRaCCuDDa. Without the Hunter for LG, there was no way to really melt the remaining frontliners out of SpaceStation.
I don't think they get that Phoenix if BaRRaCCuDda's still alive. That's how big of a threat BaRRaCCuDDa is right now. So yes, that pull from Jigz was huge in that fight. Now left Phoenix is down, the most important one in the game, and Luminosity are going to have to make a call. Do they want to fight this Fire Giant in 40 seconds, or are they just going to try and make another Phoenix defense?
Well, you can't leave your left side exposed for too long. They shove out one wave for the time being. They might make a stand here for the moment. They do have that 1 Sentry Ward on the top side mid-Harpy, but none inside the pit, and that's the danger zone right there. If you don't have any vision there, there's so many hiding spots around corners that SpaceStation can set themselves up for.
And it looks like Luminosity do want to be here. They do want to be around for this Fire Giant. The Portal Demon allows SpaceStation to go back and, you know, get some more wards. Look at all that vision they got in their inventories. A couple potions in there too. They're ready to try and win this fight.
Yeah, I don't expect LG now to make this commitment under the Fire Giant with how much Sentry Vision Control SpaceStation have. This should be relatively free, and that's exactly how it's going to be. LG going to back off and kind of wait for the next Phoenix Siege. They have the tools at their disposal for consistent player damage. That Whirlpool with Gem of Isolation is a great zoning mechanism to deter SpaceStation from entering forward.
But with the Fire Giant and those wisps coming out from Jigz, there's so much sustain from SpaceStation. Playing it patiently and trying to wear down Luminosity, that could work out big for them here as they try and push down the right side Phoenix now, and Luminosity are set to defend.
But they do have Jigz with the blink. It could be an easy opportunity. There are 3 blinks for SpaceStation. ScaryD, Homie, and Jigz. Their offensive tools are in wide a variety here as they're trying to get their second Phoenix of the game.
Homiefe is the one looping around to the left side. Mask actually has to go over to try and defend left lane. He does have the ult, so he can rotate over quickly, but it means he won't be there right away. Jigz goes for the pull, but doesn't get anything out of it as they wait for another minion wave.
The route onto Aquarius was good. It forced out that driving strike. LG still playing that little dancing game between SpaceStation, holding the right side Phoenix, but it's all a patient waiting game, like you said, because SpaceStation are relying on this left side Phoenix with a fire minion wave right next to it.
Look at that gem of isolation. Jigz just getting dragged down. Phoenix at half health now as Jigz goes in and goes to the Ratatoskr. Does force out some important relics. BaRRaCCuDDa, though, shredding him in the back. Actually gets the pull. There's Aquarius and pulls him back into the whirlpool. Jigz going to be the first casualty of war. ScaryD goes in aggressively.
ScaryD trying to run away. Mask actually dashes in, but the Supernova taking him out. ScaryD credited with that one as Homie's in the sky. Going to use that third swing to go back into safety. Zapman and ScaryD are in a little bit of trouble. They're going to use those Aegises to survive.
And those Aegises were important to immune the Kraken. That's going to keep him alive. It's a 4v4. Most important members are still alive for both teams, though. My eyes are on Zapman and BaRRaCCuDDa. They're shredding right now. Zapman looking for the Phoenix. Aquarius pulls in Homiefe, but the cripple field slows it down.
So much damage they're being dealt onto LG. They're holding on to their Phoenix. Andinster takes out BaRRaCCuDDa. Finally, SpaceStation can siege a little bit further here. Boulder even coming out. Zap takes out the solo laner.
But that's not going to be the end of it. Baskin's now in trouble. Even in his fountain, ScaryD doesn't care. ScaryD cleans him up, and I think that's enough, Tully. They're turning towards the Titan, and they're going to even it up. It's going to be 2-2. SpaceStation Gaming and Luminosity going to a Game 5.
Wow, I thought for a moment that LG were going to hold a little bit longer under their right side Phoenix, but finally, ScaryD, man, he was just in that backline being such a nuisance on this Artio. It made it so difficult for LG to really handle that penetration.
That game was so impressive. I agree with you 100%, though. It was ScaryD was the big name for me in that engagement, creating too much disruption in the backline, slowing down a lot of what Aquarius was trying to do on the Hercules with that cripple field as well. He was just unkillable.
They had so many forms of engagement, too, because not only was ScaryD going into the front line, but after he was done with that front line, it would be Jigz going in with that huge Wrath of Terror knockup. And I think also with the defensive peels that he had with the healing consistently, it was too difficult for LG to find their footing in the late game. I don't think Baskin playing the Poseidon provided that big of an impact for LG as they would have wanted to.
And that's nothing to say for the impact Zapman was having. I mean, he had a lot of really good setup, but he was also shredding. We heard him say it in the comms when Zapman's feeling himself, I do not want to be on the other team totally, and he was ready to take every fight he could get.
And honestly, this Hachiman for BaRRaCCuDDa was good at first here, but he's feeling very comfortable playing aggressive with that horse. I'll be surprised if I see it pick it again.
Well, let's go ahead and let Tom and the rest of the desk, Taco over there, break it down.
Thanks a lot, Finch. Standing by, watching this last one as we head into a Game 5, the full distance. This was certainly a sight to behold. I liked the Poseidon pick, but only if you hit your Krakens. Saw a lot of missed stuff coming out from Baskin.
It wasn't just the fact that he missed Krakens. I also felt that his build wasn't suited for the task that the Poseidon was drafted for. He went the Dynasty Plate Helm, which is great for having the survivability against the Camazotz nonsense. But if you have an Artio and a Sylvanus in your face, not going to do too much damage. I remember a fight around a speed buff. Artio gets hit by a center of the Kraken and takes no damage. I honestly think the Kraken healed Artio at that point.
And I mean, we were sitting here the entire draft. I think we spent the entirety kind of complaining about this soul. Meanwhile, Andy comes through and he says, you know what, Desk? Shut the hell up.
He finally shows us why it's first pick material for SpaceStation.
It's not so much that any of us hated the soul pick as much as all of us wanted to just see him hard carry with a mid laner, and based off those previous performances with the soul, it just seemed like Andinster wasn't really getting that kind of opportunity to really let the soul come online. This game, complete 180 when it came to the selection. And also, I think a large portion of the success we saw from the Soul is also kind of attributed to Luminosity's positioning. This was probably some of the worst positioning that we've seen from Luminosity when it came down to team fights, because they would tunnel vision a little bit too hard on trying to secure off of missed abilities. And when you miss your abilities and you still want to look to make sure you get that kill locked away, oftentimes it ended up funneling them into those tight little jungle corridors where does the one place that Soul wants to drop that supernova? It's right in the dead center of that line.
Watching this one, I couldn't really kind of find the moment that it slipped out of LG's hands. Usually when you watch these comeback games, these turnaround games, there is an exact moment where you say it was that team fight, it was that objective. For me, this was kind of SpaceStation just kind of slowly taking it back.
I think there was a fight around the Gold Fury, which Luminosity managed to take, and then SpaceStation just overran them, got 4 kills, then subsequently took the Fire Giant. BaRRaCCuDDa completely gave it up, couldn't repeat his heroics on the AMC from the previous game. But it just, at that point, I think that's where SpaceStation took a small lead from the game and didn't relinquish it.
I don't think that there was ever a single moment of noting that the game completely ran out of control for Luminosity and SpaceStation came back. I think it was just a series of misplays from Luminosity that permitted SpaceStation to come up huge with those supernovas. Andinster had 3 team-changing supernovas, and whenever those supernovas actually get the chance to dish out every single tick of the damage, you saw what happened next. Zapman's there. He was more than happy to play cleanup crew alongside of Andinster, and it really just helped SpaceStation in ensuring that they can maintain the map dominance that they needed to bring it back.
And